All right, so this is Production Nationals breakdown, part 2, the last day, except for the one small lie I told where I forgot I had one more stage from day 2. So this is the last stage from day 2 before we get into the last day. This was executed very well. You had to get deep into this back left position in order to see a covered plate behind this array and one right here that activates the swinger. The first array goes pretty well perfectly. Can only see those from back there, so you see a small pause on that plate to confirm that there's a visible impact on it before moving on. And in the front up here, I handled this a bit differently than most other people, where I shot these first 3 targets right to left. Or basically I shot this one planned to start tipping out on the swinger. I shot 1, 2, and then you see the real tip actually is when I commit to shoot this left-hand target and twisted for the last partial on the right. Okay, so now, for real, this is the last day breakdown. So this stage is like a very conventional USPSA stage where there's close targets that are kind of all over the place through most of the stage. So sweep this first section on the left.
Are you ready? High.
Responsible shooting. That one target had some steel behind it. It was a paper target with steel behind it. Reloaded to this array. And my plan was basically strategically, I wanted to choke up on this stuff and make it so that in a very small footprint on the ground, within like this space just up to basically the break in this wall right here, I could get all the shooting done on this left-hand array and the one target I need to get on the right. And my thought was that rather than trying to just turn in and shoot that stuff moving over a longer space, I'll be able to shoot a normal speed without moving that much or having to commit to my feet that much while shooting this section. So reload it here. So you see I'm not really having to cover that much ground while doing that and still shooting pretty full tilt, which for me is the most comfortable and effective strategy most of the time. Decent performance there. A couple pickups in the steel, which has been just the thing for the whole match so far. Trying to hold a really good tempo across those, by not waiting to see too much, but clearly need to just wait to see more and accept that it's going to feel. Got 2 small speed shoots here. This one, there was some debate on how to handle these activators. My plan was to try to take out the activator target is the one that's in the back here, this big popper in the back. So I wanted to basically take that out and then sweep the whole right side and then come to the bobber that's going to come up. But I ran out of time, I think, where the target started to come up earlier than I expected. And yeah, so, I mean, that's still a really solid performance, but it just didn't work out exactly like I expected. And this was a little hoser stage. That was 16 rounds. Again, I ran the gun to empty on this one to not reload. So, most other people in my peer group elected to do a load, which I fundamentally disagree with because they're very easy targets. So it went like this. And so the biggest place I saved time here was basically in this position, not getting choked up too much on this wall or buried too deep against this line. I'm trying to come just barely to where I can see this and hang farther back, and you can see I can step a bit left and free up these 2 targets in the back, right? So this transition, like with one step, I'm on this target and I can see where I need to go. I guess that's 2 steps for most people. But for one side step, I can get to where I need to, and then I can walk these down and shoot them relatively carefully on the way to the last target. This was probably the biggest and most intimidating stage of the match because there was the most running, and while the shots were far, they were not very risky. So I was willing to shoot more C's than other people to hold a really aggressive tempo and try to get those first 1 or 2 shots off on the position entries earlier than other people, like we talked about when discussing the strategy a little bit. So we'll kind of see how that shows up here. Into this position. That one was good and disciplined. This was the one target I'm like, this part's going to feel really slow. This target's buried, so I got like the right edge of the delta is missing behind a wall, and you're coming in to shoot just this one target and then leaving. So you can see I'm aiming on this by right here, and there's a good half second there when I'm aiming on it, prepping the trigger, trying to commit to get good hits on it. And my thought process is, hey, if you clean this one target, you're home free. Like the rest of it's going to feel easy. Overshot that a bit. shooting that more aggressively than pretty much everyone else. This is basically a classic accelerator array, going away from here where it's all open targets, 1, 2, 3, from 7 to 20 yards or so, then plus this partial. So this is something I'm very familiar with. I'm willing to shoot this more aggressively than just kind of watching to make everything visibly perfect. I'm kind of comfortable doing this slightly by feel. And same thing back here. These are all about 18 yards. So definitely a little bit more aggressive pacing there. And so with that stage, I had, I believe, 4 Charlie in a very competitive time. So that ended up being a stage win by a bit. Of course, my closest competitor, I think, also put up a very good score. So it didn't net me a lot of points against the person I needed it to, but it was still a really good performance. And this stage was decent-ish, except for a pickup at the end. I just had more Charlies than I probably wanted to, where there was more partials than I was used to in a lot of the rest of the match. This match did a good job, in my opinion, of using a lot of distance instead of just partialing. But this stage did have quite a few partials. And so I dropped more C's than I did in a lot of the rest of the stages. And basically, Sal had an absolutely perfect performance on this stage. It was flawless with just like a small handful of Charlies on it. And so we're, again, now 2 stages left to go, dead even in the scores. He and I are, I think, 2 points apart on this stage. And so at this point, I'm like, all right, we got to find a way to make a move. There's 2 stages left. What does the next stage look like? By the time my feet get settled, basically, I'm already, started transitioning into this popper, which is perfect. Handle this nice and responsibly is the goal. Partial here, and then reload. And this is the part where you can really gain time. If you maintain like fast motion through this section and keep the gun up, you can save at least 3/4 of a second compared to handling this diligently and responsibly. And mission accomplished there, obviously. Like I'm screaming fast with these 3 targets into the last position. And that saved me a good amount of time, probably a 1/4 second roughly over the overall stage compared to the status quo raw time. And luckily enough, my closest competitor, Mr. Sal, had a couple extras on the steal in the corner. So at this point, I think I'm up 15 points or so into the last stage. So the final stage, it needs to be a performance that's neutral, not great, not bad. Certainly not bad. I can't have a mess up and then leave the door open. But all I really need is an okay performance, and it should be very difficult for him to pass. Well, it looks like this. It's a pretty easy, simple to execute stage with basically 2 places where you can push. This first array where I'm standing here, and then the last 2 positions you can blend together. So this part, because it's off the draw, because I just want to get the fundamentals right and get things started on a good note, this part just gets handled normally, just kind of like do what feels normal.
Are you ready?
Wait to see a little bit of green on these close, easy targets. And then into here, I'm trying to get the first shot off on this left-hand paper a touch early. Right, so that target gets got, so really...
Recently, last night, is it going to win it? Or is it not?
Thank you for the commentary, Phil. So in this stage here, we have some stuff that you got to shoot across the front. Basically, you got to do a little bit of blending up on the front to shoot a popper that's off screen over here. Reload across to this position right here, shoot a couple more targets, and then a dead run all the way to the back. Goes okay on the paper. Goes really bad on this steal. So that's a whole second right there in pickups on that plate. And so into this array, I'm like, this is do or die, dude. Like, you have to, everything except the shooting at this point needs to be absolute blitzkrieg. Gun up early, run your guts out. And with that, it's over. I did not know if that was going to be enough. I assumed that was going to leave a window open of a good 10 points. Ultimately, the aggression on the first, 3rd, and 4th position was enough to get me to a raw time that was tied with what anyone else is able to do. So the time still ended up being competitive in the division, and then Sal ended up having a miss on that headshot swinger. So that won me the match. far from perfect performance. I said the second this was over, I walked away. I was like, "Damn it, dude! I don't know if that's going to be enough. It's going to depend on what he does." I left him in the driver's seat, and that was kind of how I felt about it in the moment. In all honesty, it's what I would call an ugly win, but a win nonetheless, and certainly a lot of room for improvement, especially when it comes to the maturity hitting steel the first time you shoot at it, and be willing to feel slow on the plates and then do everything else with aggression. The strategy of being aggressive where it's easy to take small risks, that is clearly working. Even on a stage like this where I had the better part of a second, at least a second, in pickups on that one plate, I was still able to get a time that was even with everyone else by shooting everything else. By moving more efficiently, shooting earlier, shooting faster, all of that stuff is working to wash off mistakes. But if I can do that and not make mistakes, I can consistently generate stage wins against this peer group. So some things are going well, some things yet to improve. About a month to World Shoot. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. If you enjoy watching these breakdowns, comment, like, subscribe, etc. And if you want me to do something like this for you, I can take a look at some match footage for you, sort of give you my color commentary on it, provide you a training plan, and I'll collect payment when we're 100% on the same page about what you need to do to improve your trajectory in the sport. Hit me up.